Hey everyone, it's Sarah, and today I am back with part 2 of iconic perfumes. So I've got more than 10 here. Yeah, I've got a lot of minis because a lot of these fragrances I keep in minis because they're iconic fragrances, but they're not fragrances that I will necessarily wear. So you'll see that when we get to the minis, but I've got a bunch here. I also just want to say that this is just the fragrances that I have in my collection that I think are iconic. It's definitely subjective. Like, we all have fragrances that, you know, in our lives we think are iconic, but maybe somebody else doesn't. This is just my opinion of what I think are like iconic fragrances, just because of, you know, my idea about them, like how long they've been in my life, how long I've seen them. But anyways, I've got a ton here. I'm gonna jump right in. The first one I'm gonna talk about, now this fragrance isn't necessarily iconic here in the United States, but I know that this fragrance is iconic in mostly Europe. I know there are so many European countries that this fragrance has just been around forever. I do believe it's a German company, so I know it's definitely iconic in Germany, but I've had so many people in my comment section tell me, oh yeah, my mom used to carry a bottle of that in her purse. Like, that's always been in my life. Like, I've always, you know, that's just like a staple in our household. And that is this fragrance here. This is the Nouveau Cologne, 47 Nouveau Cologne, but just the original 4711 perfume, cologne, whatever you want to call it, I know for sure is iconic in most of Europe, or in a lot of Europe, especially in Germany. So I am going to include this fragrance because I do have the Nouveau Cologne in my collection, which I absolutely adore. It's such a beautiful, like, modern, fresh take on the original 4711. Sadly, the Nouveau Cologne has become difficult to find, but I love this. 4711 is absolutely iconic in a lot of the rest of the world, so I had to include that one. Okay, this next one, I don't have the original Kenzo Flower, but I do have Kenzo Flower Eau de Lumiere, and this bottle is so iconic. I remember, gosh, I love this fragrance. I'm not a huge fan of the original Flower, but the Eau de Lumiere is so beautiful. It's such a sweet, it's like such a sweet syrupy take on the original Kenzo Flower. This bottle is absolutely iconic though. I remember when I used to travel a lot in the early to mid 2000s, especially traveling to Europe, Kenzo Flower, the original fragrance, was always being very prominently displayed in like the duty-free stores. This is another one that I don't know that it was as iconic here in the United States as it maybe was in Europe. I think it was more widely worn in Europe than maybe here, but this is an iconic fragrance. It's an iconic bottle. Kenzo bottles are just stunning, and the Kenzo Flower is just so incredible. And I just realized mine is a tester bottle, which I love. I like getting tester bottles better than, you know, better than like retail bottles. So I just realized mine is a tester, and that makes me super happy. But anyways, yeah, Kenzo Flower I think is just incredibly iconic. Maybe the bottle is a little bit more iconic than the actual fragrance inside, but either way. Okay, this next one, I would say this one has probably become iconic over the last, like, I don't know, 8 years or so. This is a fragrance from Lancome. This is the original formulation of Oud Bouquet, and I think, I could be wrong, but I think this was one of the first, like, higher end perfumes that Lancome released, if I remember correctly. I can't really remember anything in between, like, you know, their kind of designer line. Yeah, their kind of designer line of perfumes like Hypnos and Midnight, what is it, Trésor Midnight Rose, Livia Bell, those kind of department store fragrances. I don't remember anything else being released before Oud Bouquet that was like a higher end perfume. This is the first like kind of niche perfume that I remember from Lancome. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not completely sure, but I don't remember anything else before this. So in my opinion, I think this is incredibly iconic because this is like one of the first kind of niche high-end perfumes that Lancome did. And this was hyped to the moon and back. This fragrance, oh my gosh. If you were on perfume YouTube, like, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, this is all you would have heard about, especially the niche channels. This is all you would have heard about is Lancome Oud Bouquet. Everybody was like obsessed with this fragrance. So anyways, in my opinion, I think this is a very iconic fragrance and I will always think that it's iconic. So anyways, that is Lancome Oud Bouquet. I even think that this kind of mosaic looking rose gold bottle is iconic. The original bottle is absolutely iconic. This next one, this fragrance isn't like super old. I think this came out in like 2009, maybe 2008, 2009. This is Prada Candy. And this is, though there had been lots of gourmands that had come out before that, this is the first kind of like caramel-based perfume that I really remember coming on the market as far as like designer perfumes go. And this was like a lot of people's jam. There were a lot of people that went crazy for Prada Candy. I have always loved the way that this perfume smells, but the performance has always been lacking, and because of that I've never really been able to like get on board with it. I do have a tester bottle, I do love it. I keep it because I think this is an iconic perfume, one that should be kept in a collector's collection, so that's why I keep it. I also love the scent. I just don't wear it very often because this is one of those perfumes that frustrates me because I can only smell it for like 10 minutes after I spray it on and then it goes away. But I think the bottle alone is iconic. It's very like high-end, like runway designer, you know, like, I don't know. It's very Prada, if that makes sense. But I love this. I love the perfume. I love the bottle. I love the hot pink and black combination and gold. I just love it. I love that it's a caramel perfume. It's one of the first really mainstream designer caramel perfumes, and I think it's completely iconic. So anyways, that is Prada Candy. Okay, this next one, there were definitely people in the comment section of the last video that were saying Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. Absolutely. I think Light Blue is one of the most iconic fragrances of the last 20 years, really. The original Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue was nuclear. It was my best friend's signature scent back in the early to mid 2000s. She just went through bottles and bottles of it. I only have the Italian Zest formulation. This is a very like lemon heavy, kind of like slightly creamy lemon heavy version of Light Blue. This is a flanker that doesn't really smell like Light Blue, which is why I really love it. This is not a fragrance that I ever wore because it was my best friend's signature. It smelled like her and I would have never felt right wearing it. But it was absolutely iconic. Everybody wore that scent. I mean, for a good 10 years, like everywhere you would walk, you would smell Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. Like everybody was wearing it for years and years. It's finally sadly been watered down to the point where I think a lot of the people that did wear it as a signature scent at one point have probably gotten away from it because of the performance of it now. I know, like, if I were my best friend and that were my signature scent for 10 years and then I, you know, bought a bottle and it was super watered down and didn't perform well anymore, I wouldn't want to wear it anymore. And I think probably a lot of people have experienced that. So either way though, it's still an incredibly iconic perfume, so much so that they make a new flanker of it, I think, every year. And I love it. It smells amazing. It's just sad that they butchered it. So anyways, that is Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. Okay, another one, Marc Jacobs Decadence. I think that this one is more iconic for the bottle than it is for the scent inside, though I absolutely adore this scent, and I think it's a masterpiece. I think Marc Jacobs Decadence is a masterpiece. But there are some people that think that this smells like pickles or pickle juice. Thankfully, I don't get that at all. It doesn't smell like pickles. There are some people that this smells like pickles on their skin. I would be so sad if that were the case for me. All I get is the sweet, syrupy plum, the saffron. And what I love about it is saffron can go either way for me. Sometimes I really, really dislike saffron. Sometimes it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine in this fragrance. This has got papyrus in it as well, which is another note that sometimes I really, really don't like it. But somehow it just works in this fragrance. I don't know. To me, I think Marc Jacobs Decadence is an absolute masterpiece. So to me, the fragrance is just as iconic as the bottle, but I do think that the bottle is completely iconic. I mean, it's so like gaudy and over the top, but in the best way possible. I just love it. So anyways, that is Marc Jacobs Decadence. Few full bottles left, and then we're gonna get into minis. Okay, the next one, to me, this is a completely iconic fragrance. I think a lot of people will agree with this one, Lolita Lempicka. This bottle, like if you remember when this fragrance came out, then you will remember the magazine ads for it. They were so beautiful. It was such like, I don't know, like fairy garden vibes. Just really gorgeous, and you had really never seen a bottle like this before. The bottle was absolutely stunning. This was one of those perfumes that it was just too expensive for me when it first came out. I had to wait years and years until I found it at a discount at like TJ Maxx or something before I was able to add it to my collection. But once I did, I've never not had it in my collection again. Like, to me, this is a completely iconic fragrance. This is also the first fragrance that I really remember licorice being a very prominent note in. I don't really remember anything before this. I'm sure there were perfumes that came before it that did have licorice, but this is the one that I associate with licorice, and that really being like becoming like a thing, licorice becoming a note in perfumes. The bottle, again, like Marc Jacobs Decadence, I think the bottle, well, to me, I think the scent is just as iconic as the bottle, but I do think that this bottle is just completely iconic. This whole idea of like a poisoned apple, the like fairy garden, gold and ivy, and I mean, it's just stunning. It's just stunning. And to me, this is just a completely iconic perfume. And it says something that it is still around all of these years later. This perfume has been out forever at this point. So anyways, that is Lolita Lempicka, just the original Lolita Lempicka. I remember when it was released, and it was one of those perfumes that you were like, oh my gosh, you would like drool over, but it was just too expensive for me at the time. Okay, this is an absolute icon, and I think we can all agree on this one, Guerlain Shalimar. I mean, this is a fragrance that has been around for decades at this point. It's got countless flankers. They still are making flankers of this. I have the EDT because this is the only formulation of the original that I can wear. I can't wear the original formulation. It's way too much perfume for me, but I can wear the EDT. And I just think that it's such an iconic fragrance. I mean, this is one of the OGs. I would put Chanel No. 5 in this fragrance, or in this video as well, if I had any formulation of Chanel No. 5, but I don't. I don't like Chanel No. 5. I don't enjoy aldehydes, so that's just, it's not a fragrance that I have, but I think we can all agree that Chanel No. 5 is 100% iconic, and Shalimar is right there with it. I think Shalimar might be a touch less iconic than Chanel No. 5 just because of brand recognition, but I think Shalimar is just I mean, it is one of the most iconic fragrances in perfume history, if you ask me. So anyways, that is Guerlain Shalimar. Okay, and then the last full bottle I have, this is probably so off. I don't even remember the last time I sprayed this. I've had this bottle for so many years. This is Chanel Coco Mademoiselle. You can see my liquid, the liquid should be pink. My liquid is yellow. I can't even smell. I'm afraid to even spray this. This is another one that I only keep because it's iconic. But Chanel Coco Mademoiselle is absolutely iconic. This, in my opinion, is the new Chanel No. 5. This is the modern Chanel No. 5. I think that so many women wear this and have this perfume in their collection. This is the new, like, I mean, it's the modern Chanel No. 5. This is the Chanel that, besides Chance, and I think a lot of people wear Chance, but I think more people wear and enjoy Coco Mademoiselle. This is such a recognizable scent. I had a friend that this was her signature, which is another reason why I would never wear this, because once you have a friend that has a signature scent that you smell and you associate with that person, you will never wear that scent, like, ever. But yeah, this is such an iconic scent. This is a scent that I think will be as iconic as Chanel No. 5. I mean, there's just not anything more to say. It's iconic. So that is Chanel Coco Mademoiselle. Okay, on to half-ounce bottles. So there's so many Givenchy fragrances that I could have chosen. I think Organza is absolutely iconic. The bottle alone of Organza is iconic. I think Haute Couture is almost iconic. I don't think it's quite well known enough to be like completely iconic. Amarige, I think this is another one I struggled with because I was like, is it iconic? Yes, I do think it's iconic. Amarige is an iconic 90s fragrance for sure. If you grew up in the 90s as a teenager, you smelled Amarige. I mean, it is what it is. You knew somebody who wore Amarige. This is just such an iconic, sweet, 90s white floral. Now, I don't think that the bottle is quite as iconic as Organza, but I think the fragrance is more iconic than the Organza bottle, if that makes sense. Though I do think the Amarige bottle is iconic too. This is another fragrance that you would see this in magazines all the time. It was a heavily, heavily advertised fragrance back in the 90s. I love it. So anyways, that is Givenchy Amarige. The next one, this is an iconic drugstore fragrance. This is another one that if you were a teenager, if you were like a, preteen to a teenager in the 90s, you smelled this perfume. This is Cody Vanilla Fields. And this is definitely iconic for me because I had a good friend that this was her signature. So I smelled it all the time. And I still love this perfume to this day. This is a bottle of the original formulation. It still smells perfect. Now, I think when you spray this, if I remember correctly, I think when I spray this, it is missing the top notes, but when it dries down, it smells perfect. Out of the bottle though, it smells perfect. This takes me straight back to high school, straight back to hanging out with the wrong people, and yeah, it just takes me back to high school. But anyways, very, very iconic 90s drugstore fragrance that I absolutely love still to this day. It's such a good one. This is the first vanilla fragrance that I really remember. So anyways, that is Vanilla Fields from Cody. This next one, this fragrance is so iconic that it's like off the charts. This is another one if you were a teenager, if you were an adolescent, preteen, all the way probably through to your early 20s in the 90s, this is a fragrance you will never get away from. This is Calvin Klein CK1. This is the first perfume that I remember being marketed as a unisex fragrance, as in everybody can wear this, men, women, doesn't matter. Oh my gosh, this is a fragrance that I will literally never forget the scent of this, or this smell. This is one of those perfumes that I almost have a visceral reaction to. I don't even have words for it. I don't even have words. This fragrance is still incredible to this day. It still smells completely modern. It's fresh. It's clean, it's got a beautiful sweetness to it, it's got a really gorgeous skin-like quality to it. And CK1, this was, I don't even have words. If you were alive at that time, you know what I'm saying. It was so, everybody wore this. Everybody. Boys, girls, did not matter. Everybody wore this fragrance. It was just stratospheric. Is that a word? That's what this perfume was like, or what this fragrance was like. Everybody wore it. It was so heavily advertised. In fact, I feel like this one was even advertised on TV. If you remember back then, let me know if I'm crazy or not, or if you remember CK1 being advertised on TV, like they had commercials for it. I'm pretty sure I remember commercials for it. Billboards in New York City, like just huge. But yeah, this, I mean, it's just incredible. One of the most iconic fragrances in my lifetime, in my opinion. So anyways, that is Calvin Klein CK1. And sticking with Calvin Klein, we've got Calvin Klein Eternity. Now this one, this is like a different ballgame. If I remember correctly, this one came out either before Escape or after Escape. I can't remember, but I remember that this was just as big as Escape, and everybody, I was in the 5th or 6th grade when Escape came out, and everybody wore that fragrance. And it was the same thing with Eternity. I can't remember, I don't have a frame of reference for the timing that this perfume came out, but I just remember that when this came out, it was huge. It wasn't quite as huge as CK1, but I would say it was easily just as popular as Escape. And for men and women. Men wore, or boys and men wore the Eternity for men, which I still to this day think Eternity for men smells divine. Same with Escape for men. They both smell absolutely incredible. But yeah, if you were a boy or a man, you wore the men's version. That's with Escape or Eternity. And if you were a woman, you wore the women's version. They're both just so good. So anyways, this is another just massive Calvin Klein fragrance that was so incredibly popular in the 90s. So that is Calvin Klein Eternity. There are so many people that still wear this to this day. I'm sure I'll get comments in the comment section saying I still wear Eternity and I love it. And I've been wearing it all these years. Okay, this next one, I only have a mini of this because this is like Shalimar. I cannot wear this perfume. This is YSL Opium, but this is the Eau de Toilette formulation. And even the Eau de Toilette, this is a mini of the original formulation. And even this Eau de Toilette, I can't wear it. It's so, gosh, it smells so good. And it's still, this little mini is still perfect. It's in perfect condition. I think Opium is an absolute masterpiece. I can't wear it. I've never been able to because when this was popular when I was a kid, I was way too young to be able to pull off a perfume like this. And now it's just too much perfume for me. It's like Shalimar. This perfume will wear me. I'm not going to be wearing it. You have to be a perfume goddess to be able to wear this perfume. And I'm just not that. I'm not a perfume goddess. I'm just not worthy enough to wear Opium. But it is a masterpiece perfume, in my opinion. And it is iconic. It is, to me, this is as iconic as like Chanel No. 5, just in a different time period. I can't remember when Opium came out, whether it was like the 70s or the 80s. But, oh my gosh, Calvin Klein Obsession is another one. Actually, I think I'm thinking of Obsession that came out when I was a kid and I couldn't wear that either. I did have a friend that wore it though, and we were little and she totally rocked Obsession. I never could. That's what I'm thinking. I'm getting this confused with Calvin Klein Obsession. Opium, I think, came out in the 70s, if I remember correctly. But it's a masterpiece, in my opinion. Completely iconic. So anyways, that is YSL Opium. I'm not even really worthy to talk about that perfume, to be completely honest. Like, I don't even feel equipped to talk about it because it's just so out of my league. Okay, circling back around to Lancome, Livia Bell. We can't talk about iconic perfumes without talking about Livia Bell. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is the top selling perfume ever in the world. There's no words for it. Yeah, Livia, this is like sweet, perfumey patchouli. Sweet, sweet florals and patchouli. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is I'm pretty sure this is a top selling fragrance in the world. There was a time period where you couldn't walk anywhere without smelling Livia Bell. Hasn't even been that long ago either. I can't remember when this had its day. I feel like it was between like 2012 and maybe 2014. Somewhere in there is when Livia Bell came out, and it was like, again, stratospheric. Everybody wore this scent. Not me. I never did because I like it. I don't love it. I will crave this every once in a while, and I will wear the Be-layered dupe of it every once in a while. It's just not my style. I just don't love a floral patchouli scent. I just never have. I love patchouli, but I pretty much just want to wear patchouli, just a patchouli scent, not a floral patchouli or a fruit patchouli or anything like that. But this is, I mean, iconic isn't even the word for Livia Bell. It's insane. So anyways, there's that one, Lancome Livia Bell. And then last but not least, I have Tom Ford Black Orchid. I only have a mini because I really, really do not like Black Orchid. I think this smells foul on me. This is just too much of everything. Yeah, this is just too much of everything in my opinion. It's really, really sickening on my skin. This one is one that absolutely nauseates me. I cannot wear it. I do not like it. But people that love this perfume really, really love it. And people that wear this describe this perfume as being like magic on their skin. It just works with their skin chemistry and they just smell incredible. And I get it. Like, sometimes there's no explanation for why a perfume works so well on some people and other people think it's disgusting. But that's how Black Orchid is. And this is one of those, you either love it or you hate it. I think it works for less people than it doesn't work for. I think there are less people out there that love this fragrance and that it really, really works for them than people like me who really, really don't like it. But I do keep a mini of it because it's absolutely iconic. I think that this is for sure, I'm pretty sure this is the first like really, really iconic Tom Ford fragrance that came out, but it's iconic. The fragrance is iconic. The bottle is iconic. This fragrance has been duped so many times now. I think it's the first like really, really iconic Tom Ford fragrance. So anyways, that is Tom Ford Black Orchid. And there are a lot of fragrances that I have minis of that I keep minis of just because they're iconic fragrances and I feel like I have to have them in my collection as a collector. And this is one of them. So anyways, you guys, there are a bunch more fragrances from my collection that I think are totally iconic. I would love to hear what other fragrances you guys think are iconic in the comments down below. I do hope that you all enjoyed this. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.